So, hi there, Rory. How you doing?
Yeah, not bad, thanks. How are you getting on?
Really good. Just firstly, thanks for agreeing to chat to me tonight. And before we start, I just want to quickly thank our long-term sponsors, Maui, who've been sponsoring Shinty for 34 years now and continue to do so. Just want to say we're very grateful to them for sponsoring these Shinty Hour meetings that we've been doing over the last few weeks, but also the kind of series of interviews that we're doing at the moment as well. So, how's things? You were saying there that you've just gone back to work. How's that been?
Yeah, it's been good to get back to a bit of normality. I think I was off for about 12 weeks, so yeah, it's nice to get back to it, although breaking myself in gently.
And are you working every day or just doing a few days or whatever?
Yeah, most days, but they're not full days. It's just there's only so much we can do really at the moment, so let's just try to do as much as we can and then get ready for when we can go back to full-time work.
There'll be a lot of stuff to consider, I'd imagine, in terms of working beyond, well, with the new norm like you're talking about. I think everyone's in the same boat at the moment, trying to figure out ways in which they're going to be able to open things back up. We're kind of the same with Shinty. There's a lot of
definitely. There's going to be a lot of changes, but we'll get used to it. We'll get there.
Yep. So I know the answer to some of this because I've been on some of the calls that we've been on. But what types of things have you been doing to keep yourself entertained during lockdown?
Probably much the same as most people, really. Just odd jobs around the house, bit of painting, tidying up bits and pieces here and there. Zoom quizzes with the boys on the Friday. Dog walking. That's about it, really. Got back on the golf course last week, so that was good to get back out there.
Yeah, and I know you've been doing a bit of training as well, so you've been managing to keep your levels up pretty well.
Yeah, I'm doing all right actually. Actually, when the season sort of came to a halt, I obviously missed part of pre-season with being in Australia, so I probably wasn't exactly where I would want to be fitness-wise. So it actually probably helped me out, giving me an opportunity to get back to full fitness. So I think I've done pretty well getting there now. But obviously since the announcement, I've kind of tailed off a wee bit, like probably most people, but hopefully get back into it soon.
I think most people have been kind of similar, aren't they? I know that people were kind of hitting it hard in the hope that they were going to get back pretty quick, but once that kind of the carrot of the season commencing disappears, then it becomes a wee bit harder to motivate yourself, I suppose.
Definitely, yeah.
Did you hurt yourself before you went to Australia? Is that right?
I had a hernia, so I'd kind of hoped to be doing stuff while I was away, but obviously with that, I wasn't really able to do too much. So, that kind of halted that sort of process for a wee while, but it seems to be all right now, so that's all good.
Did you get treatment for that? No, it's just...
No, it just disappeared, really. It wasn't a big hernia, it was more just on the smaller end of the scale, so it disappeared pretty quick with a bit of rest.
The sunshine in Australia helped that.
Yeah, although with my fair skin, I wasn't really exposed to that too much because it's pretty brutal out there. Like,
well, you're not called Milky for nothing.
Hi, exactly.
And so, what? Obviously, you were just touched on there about the announcement that the season's been, the competitions for this year have been postponed. So, you got any thoughts on that?
It's obviously disappointing that we won't be getting any Shinty this year. I think it's good they've made the decision this early so that people aren't kind of left in limbo, not knowing what's going to happen. Because for a while there, as we just touched on, we were training with no real idea of what was actually going on. So it's good to get a bit of clarity on that and, I think a lot of boys, as we just said, have taken a bit of a rest from the training, and then probably pick it back up closer to the time when Shinty's going to start back up again.
Yeah, so who knows? Who knows what the future holds? We'll hopefully get back sooner rather than later.
Yeah, hopefully.
So obviously tonight I've got a fair few questions I want to fire at you. I'm keen for, like, with these kind of interviews, for people to try and get a wee bit of an insight into the person rather than just the kind of person that they see playing shinty every week.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll be able to try and, just the sort of way that we've got the questions angled, hopefully try and get to know you a bit better as a person, and then hopefully people that are watching that will get to know a little bit more about you and stuff as well.
Cool. No bother.
So I guess just take it kind of back to the start. I don't want to be going on. We don't want any like long-winded sort of like a whole description of your whole life from when you were 5. But I'm just interested to know how you got into playing shinty, who got you into it, and kind of what are your earliest memories of playing?
I think with most people in Newtonmore and these shinty areas, you kind of just get handed a stick when you're able to walk, really, and you do what you can with it at certain ages and things like that. And then as soon as you get into primary school, you head along to the training on the Monday night, and that's what I can really remember with likes of John Russell and Kenny Mack taking the primary school training. They always made it fun for us, and you always want to go back for more.
Yeah, so okay, same as most of us, I guess, around about that time. You guys probably were one of the last crop that Ken and John were responsible for in the primary school, I would say.
Yeah, you're probably right there, I think.
You won a Mackay Cup, didn't you?
Yeah, we did, yeah. Yeah, that was our last year in primary school, we won that.
And where was that?
That was at Oban. We beat, I think it was Park Primary in the final. So
I actually remember seeing a picture of that. It was quite a decent wee group of kids you had there playing at that time.
Yeah, we had a really good team. I think probably at least 6 or 7 boys have gone on to play first team shinty at some point. So
yeah,
it's not a bad return from a primary school side.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking when I saw that picture. There's still a lot of the play. Obviously, there's a few gone, but there's still a lot of the boys still playing and actually playing in the first team now as well, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
So you played football for a bit as well. Did you play football in primary school, or was that when you were a bit older?
Towards the end of primary school and my early years in high school, really. I was at Cali Thistle for about a year, and then when Cali got promoted, they let quite a lot of their youngsters go, and at the time I was just one of them that was let go, unfortunately. So I think then it was a couple of years after I got through the school football invited up to Ross County for a 2-week trial, and went for that, but again just obviously didn't make the cut really, and never heard back, so that was that.
All right, because I thought you'd played a bit longer than that, but yeah, I remembered that when you were younger you were a bit of a football player as well, and then I obviously played with you a little bit when we had a very brief experience at Strasbourg.
Yes.
But probably neither of us would say we'd probably want to remember much about that, to be honest.
No, it was a very brief spell.
Brief and not very successful.
No, that's true.
So probably just as well you stuck to the shinty.
Yeah, I think so.
Was there anything when you played football, like obviously it would be a different type of training and a bit more intense and stuff like that? Was there anything that you learnt when you were involved in the football setup that helped you with your shinty along the way at all? Probably just a bit more on the fitness side, really. I
I think the football was a lot more catered towards that, or had a lot more knowledge on that back then, a lot more than sort of the Shinty did. So I came back with a wee bit more kind of insight into fitness and nutrition and things like that. But apart from that, there wasn't really much else to take from it, to be fair.
Yeah, so because I always think that boys that have played a decent level of football or a bit of football when they're younger, especially forward kind of players in Shinty, it tends to stand them in good stead with the kind of passing and movement element in the game, because a lot of the movement patterns are the same. So, and I always think you can tell if you're watching somebody play Shinty if they've played football or not, or if they've played at a decent level or whatever. So,
yeah, that's true actually. Yeah,
just intrigued about that a little bit. So, and obviously you went into the kind of youth teams at Newtonmore. I remember coaching you boys for a while under 14s.
Yep.
Show my age a wee bit now. And then I watched you quite a lot in the 17s and stuff, but I don't think didn't have a huge amount of success at that level. And then you didn't really go into the second team, did you? It was
I did maybe for a wee while, but I think when my age group were trying to break into the second team, we actually had a very good second team at that time and a very good first team and two very big squads. So it was quite hard for us to break into the second team. And, some weeks we were going away with 20 guys. And, when you're that young, 14, you're probably at the lower end of the pecking order there. But likes of Evan and Colin and Mark, they gave us as much of an opportunity as anyone. So they were really good with us, and whenever they were able to give us a chance, they gave it to us, And then when Tonks and Cammy took over, I think I only maybe played about maybe 10 games for them. So yeah, I didn't really spend too much time in the second team.
So how many games do you think in total, just roughly?
I don't know, maybe 20 at the most. Probably full games 20. A few sub appearances when I was younger and things like that. But
quite unusual. So what age were you when you first started getting sort of drafted into the first team?
I think I was about 15. My first game was actually Divott's wedding. Obviously we were quite short that day, so I think the second team were playing at home, and then I got called up after because we were short on numbers. So I think I did all right. So that kind of stood me in good stead. So I think after that, that wasn't just me straight in the first team. It was a taster of it, and you would go back and play the odd game with the second team. But I think after that, I was mainly in and around the first team squad, just getting minutes here and there.
What age did you say you were then? About 15 or 16?
Yeah.
I think I played the first half of that game and then had to go to the wedding.
Abandoned us.
Eh?
Abandoned us.
Aye, well, it was a bit like that in Wurzel. But they got the win anyway, so that was all right.
Aye.
So I've seen like that's quite young to go into the first team, and I've always been a kind of believer in players coming through, regardless of their ability, they should go into the second team for a good spell. And I would always worry about players who kind of go straight into the first team a bit too young. I've seen it happen at so many different occasions, various different clubs, where players at that age have gone straight into their first teams, and I don't know what happens to them if it goes to their head a wee bit, or do they think they don't have to really try much anymore, or do they stop learning, or whatever it is. I always think it has a real detrimental effect on them.
Mm.
But I remember specifically when you were getting into the first team at that age, that like I don't think anyone was really worried about that, because everyone knew you were quite a level-headed kind of guy, and no one had any worries that it was going to affect you in any way. So I think that's quite a rare thing, and I think it says a lot about you that you managed to make a success of that, especially from that kind of young age and being put into that environment early doors. Have you got any? I've actually got one memory of you but I won't share it. In one of your first away trips, it was.
I think I know what you're talking about.
But if you get any kind of fond memories of the early kind of games in the first team, or is there any kind of can you give us any insight as to how you felt being in that environment? Were you always quite confident, or were you not sure about it, or?
I was just delighted to get in there. I think every Shinty player aspires to get into their first team, so to get in there at a young age was great. And the players that we had in there, it was just amazing to learn off these guys. The team was such a good team at that time, and the competition for places was pretty tough. So it was good just to be in that environment and learning off everyone, really.
Yeah, and I don't think you were a sub that much either, were you?
A bit of both, really. I played some games, and then I was kind of a utility player, really. At the start, I would play wing centre some days, going up front if needed, maybe playing defence. So just, again, happy to play anywhere, really, and play a part.
Yeah, I was going to say, so like I remember you played sort of various different places, but obviously you settled down in defence, and that's where you developed into the kind of player that you are now. Probably not probably for me, the best defender that the game's got at the moment. And so I want to try and get a bit of an insight into that as well, because I know that it's not just something people will look at somebody like you and just think, oh, that's just the guy that naturally knows what he's doing. But I know that there's probably a lot more thought and work goes into it, and it's not just like total natural talent. But so in defence, you've obviously you've played various different positions in there, but I'm just interested to know what's your favourite. I presume defence is your favourite position, but which position at the back is your favourite position, and why? And also, do you think it's your best?
I think my favourite position is fullback. I quite like being the kind of last line of defence, and you can see the whole game from there, so you can kind of dictate to other defenders where guys are moving and things like that. So I quite like that aspect of it. I think my best position maybe be halfback, a wee bit further out, and you can kind of grab hold of a game more there and dictate play a wee bit and maybe start attacks and things like that. But I like playing both positions, really, and wing back, to be fair. I'm quite happy and quite comfortable in all of them, really.
And what about when you played up front? Have you felt comfortable playing up front, or is that something that's not as natural?
I'm not a goal scorer. I think we know that by my record of goals to game ratio. It's not very good, but I think I was kind of used up front to do a bit of the legwork at centre forward, and I quite enjoyed that as well. Harassing defenders and breaking up sort of the halfbacks play and things like that, and trying to start attacks for us. So I enjoyed that as well.
Yeah, you definitely did that bit well, and it's not. Yeah, I don't know. I think with a bit of work and a bit of more practice and kind of like scoring, shooting and stuff like that, I think everyone can be a bit better at that kind of thing. So I think you might have got a few more goals. I remember you scored a belter a goal at GMA, I think it might have been the first game of the season. Like you keep you up it more or less half the length of the pitch and then put it in. And I think that was the first game of the season, and everyone's like, "Oh, we've got a great forward here. This is our answer." I don't think he scored another goal after.
Went downhill rapidly after that, I think.
Aye. So just talking about the kind of defensive side, I was chatting to Greg Matheson the other night. You might have seen the interview on Facebook or whatever, and I was trying to get a bit of an idea from him about what it's like to be a good goal scorer. So you've just touched on there that you're probably not natural in that respect, and it was good to get a bit of insight into his sort of thoughts and the things that he works on and the stuff that he's doing during a game to become, because he's a prolific goal scorer. I think you've mentioned before that he's one of the best players that you've played against.
Definitely, yeah,
So,
without a doubt.
So in a kind of similar vein to that, I'm interested to talk to you about the art of defending. And I know you'll be quite modest and bashful about this and maybe play things down a wee bit, but I want you just to try and tell us a wee bit about what you think are the kind of key elements that make you such a good defender.
I think reading the game is up there for me. I think if you can read the game, then you're doing pretty well. Like say, obviously being brave as a defender helps as well. You know, you may have to throw your body in front of things that you might not normally like to or want to, but sometimes you just got to do that to stop the opposition from scoring. I think as well, I use the YouTube quite a lot to see who you're playing against and see what they like doing. If they're good in their right hand or left hand, if they like to run the ball, if they're more direct, things like that, take on board as well. Just use that tool as much as you can. And then it kind of prepares you as well as you can be really for the Saturday.
Yeah, so you're talking about reading the game, and that's a term that gets used a lot in Shinty. Or he can read the game really well. Like I think I can read the game pretty well, but if you actually stop and think about it, what is it like? What types of things is it that you're looking for, and what, you know? Because I think what I'm kind of trying to get at is that's a bit of a loose term, being able to read the game. Like, is there anything specific that you're looking for, or certain patterns of play or whatever it is that give you that advantage when you're going to go win the ball or to try and read where it's going to go?
Well, kind of whoever's, you know, if the ball may be coming in from the centre line or further up the field, trying to look at that player and see from the angle of their body or whatever which side they're going to try and hit it to, and if you can gain a yard in your man, or, you know, playing at fullback, you can see everything in front of you. So if someone's making a move away to create space, and you can then see the space and hopefully then move into that space to collect the ball, or, you know, even if you can gain a half yard in your man to get there first, or anything, just stuff like that. Anything, any little gains really.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was kind of thinking just about people's body shape when they're just about to hit the ball and that kind of thing as well, because you're trying to, and also who's it that's hitting it, because no disrespect to some people, but if there's certain people hitting the ball, you're not gonna move off the spot because you know it's not going to go, you know, it might not travel far enough or whatever.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
People hitting on their backhand and stuff like that, you get to know players and what they can and can't do. So
definitely.
So one of your great attributes that I think when I watch you play and stuff is you got a real knack of being in the right place at the right time. You've kind of touched on that there in terms of like being able to read where the ball's going to go, but in particular, just kind of last ditch tackles. I think you're probably one of the best at, well, certainly one of the best I've ever seen, if not the best, at just kind of getting some kind of challenge or block or your body in the way of shots at the very last second. And I think partly that's because you've got quite a big reach and obviously can read the game, but is that something that you think is just like a kind of natural instinct, or is that something that people can learn to do and develop, or is that something that you've learned and developed over time?
I think it's probably a bit of both, really. I think when you look back on some of the games, a lot of goals in Shinty come from defenders ball watching. So I try not to do that. I try and stick with my man as much as possible, and obviously watching what the ball's doing as well. So that obviously helps. You know, if the ball drops to your man, if you're keeping an eye on him, you're going to be, you know, somewhere in the region that you can get something in to try and deflect the ball or stop him from hitting it or put him under a bit of pressure, you know. Yeah. So trying to obviously keep an eye on your man as much as well as the ball obviously helps with that.
Yeah. And is there any kind of any of those things that we've spoken about there, like elements of your game that you've not found natural, that you've had to kind of work hard to improve?
Probably like I'm not the quickest, so try and work on my speed quite a bit. Not the strongest either, so I've been trying to do a bit of weight work more recently as well, just to, especially when you're playing in at fullback, you're playing against a big strong guy, so you need the strength to be able to hold your own in there, but also speed as well. So yeah, pretty much that really.
So more physical elements, which is quite interesting, because like I think, in all honesty, when I'm asking you some of these questions, I know that a lot of the skill stuff does come naturally to you. I think you're just that type of person. It's a natural kind of natural ability and natural skills. So it's interesting to hear you say that you have identified things that are weaknesses, and you've worked on them, but they're not actually to do with gameplay or skills. It's more just physical stuff.
Yeah, to be fair, my hitting's not exactly the greatest either. So I've been trying to do a bit of that during lockdown as well, especially more hitting a ball when I'm moving onto it. So from a standing start, running and then hitting a ball, that's where I'm quite poor at. So I've been doing a bit of that through lockdown as well. So hopefully that'll come to fruition as well.
Good. It's not very often you get people doing extra. Mind you, at the moment everyone's so bored, I suppose.
Yeah, it's something to do.
Aye. And I can't believe you said that you're not that fast, because I actually think you're pretty rapid. You maybe don't look like you're going that fast, but you've got long levers, so you tend to cover the ground quite quickly.
Yeah, well, I think some of the players I've come up against recently are quite a bit faster than me, so there's a fair bit of work needing done there, that's for sure.
Yeah, maybe just a bit different kind of styles, centre of gravity and stuff like that, maybe makes people a bit quicker off the mark.
Yeah, definitely.
I think maybe you need a bit of room to get the legs going sometimes.
Aye.
So just for any kind of young budding Rory Kennedys out there, if you had any kind of words of advice for them in terms of practicing skills, what would you feel like are the kind of top words of advice or things that children or kids should work on if they want to get to the top of the game?
Just practice your basics, really. You can never do too much of practicing hitting balls, stopping balls, shies, backhand, forehand. If you're good at the basics, then you're halfway there, so just keep practicing that as much as you can. And obviously, on the kind of mental side of things, don't let anything really get you down. Just use any disappointments as fuel to make yourself better, or to go on and win it next time, things like that,
Yeah. So that's kind of bringing me on to my next couple of questions as well, is just to talk about your mindset a wee bit. So I think on and off the pitch, you're a very kind of humble and easygoing guy, and I would say most people that know you would say that, and it's true that you're a very well respected player in person within the sport. And that's not always an easy thing. Not been easy for me, but I don't think it's an easy thing to be, because you obviously have rivals and you're playing at the top, you want to win and all that kind of stuff. I don't think I've ever seen you like fall out with anyone on the pitch, maybe very rarely. I don't think I've hardly ever heard you talk badly of anybody. So I'm just kind of interested to know, because I think that's probably one of your biggest assets. And I'm glad you kind of touched on it there, but I'm interested to know just a wee bit about that. So I'm going to ask you a few questions that are to do with mindset and how you kind of value that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So do you ever get angry?
Oh yeah, of course. I think being in any sport, there's a competitive nature there, that when you're losing or things aren't going your way, you maybe do get angry sometimes, but I try not to let it affect me too much, because then it can sometimes ruin your game a wee bit. and you're then thinking about that decision that you weren't given, or that player that hit you off the ball, or whatever, and it can sometimes completely distract you from what you're actually there to do. So I try not and let these things affect me too much during the game.
Yeah. And is there any kind of, have you got like a pet hate on the pitch? So either to do with players you're playing against or playing with or whatever, is there anything that you kind of winds you up?
Any kind of naughty off the ball challenges, things like that. I think the kick rule kind of annoys me a wee bit, because it's just, it's left open to people's judgment, really. I think it should be either a kick or not a kick, if you know what I mean. And then just, I don't like it when our team gives away silly fouls. Just gives the other team an opportunity to put us under pressure that is needless, really. Yeah. So things like that.
But you don't play with anyone that gives away cheap fouls at all, though?
No, nah.
So yeah, I think that's kind of interesting as well, because obviously the things that annoy you are probably things that you just don't do. So off the ball stuff, I know that that's not in your nature and it's not the way you want to do things, and obviously giving away daft fouls and stuff isn't something that you would do much either.
Sometimes.
Well, sometimes you can't, sometimes it has to be done. I know that's just the way it is sometimes, but so I think people that don't know you could probably say you're a pretty quiet, shy, sort of unassuming sort of guy, which in part is true, but I think my perception is that you're very confident, and although you're very humble, you're deep down really confident in your own abilities. And I know that you're really driven and determined. Like, obviously you're like, although you don't like shout and ball and cause trouble or whatever, I know that there's a real kind of steely winner in there. Is that fair to say, or?
Yeah, definitely. Winning is the most important thing to me, and I'll try and do whatever I can to make that happen. So yeah, that is fair. It's just that kind of competitive nature, really. I think there's quite a lot of us that have it, and just I love winning, and that's it, really.
Yeah. Yeah. So it just kind of brings me on, because I kind of wondered when I was writing the questions and stuff. I was wondering if you've ever kind of. I feel like you've got confidence in your own game, and like the amount of times I've heard people tell you how good you are, but you don't take any heed of it. Like, you just don't take any heed of it. But I think deep down you must have a confidence in your own ability. And so I was starting to think about it, like, because I've never seen this in you, but I was just starting to think if you've ever had, interested to know if you've ever had like sort of rocky patches where you've not been as confident and you're maybe down in your own game or whatever. Because I would say I'm a very much a confidence player, and I can have real highs and lows, but I know when I'm in a kind of slump, I know what I need to do to get out of that. But I've never seen that in you before. I've seen it in lots of other players over the years, but I never ever seen it in you. So I just wondered if you've ever had kind of periods that you can remember where you have actually been like not as confident in your own game.
Yeah, I think when I first came back from my hand injury in 2015, it took me a long time to get back up to speed as to where I was before. And that frustrated me big time, because I think I kind of expected just to kind of get back into it and it would be the same as it was before. But yeah, I kind of felt my stick work had deserted me then, and obviously I wasn't as fit as I had been, and it just took me a lot longer than I thought to get back to the level that I was happy with. And I was kind of, it showed in where I was playing. 1 week I was playing at wing centre, then I was playing at wing forward, then I was maybe playing at full centre, and then a half back. So, but also that was, we're maybe short and injuries and things like that. So I was there to fill in these positions, but I think that kind of showed where I was at with my form at that stage. Was I couldn't really hold down a certain position in the team, so that was frustrating. But you've just got to stick at it and keep doing the right things, and eventually it'll come. And then in 2016, before the Scottish final, I don't really know when it started, but I just felt I wasn't really happy with the way I was playing. I was, kept feeling I was maybe a yard off the pace and things like that, and just wasn't entirely happy with where my game was at. And obviously I kept playing, kept training, kept doing the right things, but again, I just felt my stick work had deserted me, and I didn't feel as sharp as I normally had been. And it's probably quite lucky then that we had a really good defence that year, and Stevie, Tosh, Mikey and myself, and we didn't concede many goals that year, and that kind of helped drag me along. And I was probably a bit detrimental to them at times, because there was games I was just kind of wandering through and not really, more of a hindrance than a help, really. But I think after the final, something just clicked the week after. We played Oban again down at Mossfield, and I just felt so much better, and felt my stick work was back and felt sharper. And since then, touch wood, I've kind of been back to what I would class as a good level.
And do you think you've got no idea where that came out of? It just was something that happened and you weren't quite at it?
Yeah, I think it was just a dip in form, really. It was nothing, I was happy at home and work and things like that. So I can only really put it down to a dip in form. And I think everyone will have it throughout their career. So that's all I can put it down to, really.
Yeah. So was there anything specific that you remember that you did that kind of helped you with that, or did you just was it just head down and keep working hard kind of thing?
Pretty much, really. Yeah. I got in touch with a guy in Inverness who I thought was like a sports psychologist type, but it turned out he wasn't really geared up for that type of thing. So that didn't really take off as much as I thought it would. So I just knocked that on the head. But yeah, just kind of got my head down and carried on working, really.
I'm surprised to hear that you felt like that was something that you needed. And actually, I remember when you're talking about it, and I just can't envisage ever thinking that you were I think probably because your level's so high that if you drop a wee bit of a level, then it's kind of most people's good levels or even best levels. So it'd be difficult to notice a small dip, I guess. But I'm really surprised to hear that. That's interesting. So I think from everybody that I've ever played with or against, actually, I think that you've got a brilliant mindset for Shinty, and I think just talking to you a wee bit here tonight has kind of highlighted some of that. And we were talking there a wee bit about skill, different things that kids can pick up, or other players, not just kids, about working on their skills and all that sort of stuff. But I think mindset's a huge thing for somebody that wants to kind of aspire to be at the top of the game. And I think the more and more years go by with Shinty, I think there's more onus on having the right attitude and the training and all that sort of stuff. Mindset's really important. So just again, if you were to give anyone any advice, or if you get any nuggets of information that you think are like kind of key things that you sort of live by with in terms of your mindset, is there anything that you could pass on from that?
Like I said earlier, I try not to get too down about things that happen, during games, or if you lose a final, just try and put it to the back of your mind, brush it under the carpet, and move on to the next game or the next week or the next season. Try and stay calm when you're on the pitch, and and not let any decisions or things that happen go against you, and let that distract you from your game, because that's when that starts happening, then it's a downward spiral, really.
Yeah.
And just give you it all. If you're happy that you've given everything you can, then you can walk away with your head held high.
Yeah, definitely. I think I know something. I mean, as you know, I've can sometimes let things get the better of me in the pitch, and I think actually if I get into that mindset, it's usually because of myself. But like, it's not because, like, I might be blaming the referee, or I might be blaming somebody around me, or 9 times out of 10, if I'm brutally honest, it's probably because I'm not happy with the way that I'm playing, and then that just projects into other things. So I agree with that. Like, if you're giving your all and you're playing as best you can, then usually you'll probably be able to keep yourself focused, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, definitely.
So even though I know that you're like the stuff that we've been speaking about, I know that you're desperate to win, you're really driven, like very committed, all of the really key sort of things that you need to be a top player. But I also don't know if I've ever played with anyone who's is such a good sport, or as sporting as you are. Even having all those things, it never seems to ever sort of spill out or anything like that. I think you don't misbehave, you don't talk back to coaches or to referees. I've not seen anything like that from you, and I've known you a long, long time. Is that something that you pride yourself on?
Yeah, definitely. I think in the game of Shinty, a lot of people are giving up time, and no one's getting paid for it. So no one deserves to be abused or spoken back to, or dug out for things when they're just doing it off their own back, for using their own time to help you out, or to referee games or things like that. And don't get me wrong, yeah, I've argued with a ref before when I've maybe felt hard done by with a decision, but again, that goes back to the kind of competitive nature. When you feel hard done by, you'll try and fight your case if you feel that it's then put your team in a vulnerable position with a free hit on the edge of the box or something like that. So yeah, it's not. I'll always fight my corner that way, but I think on the whole, as I said, Shinty's all voluntary, so everyone should be well respected within that.
So that all makes sense, and I was going to ask you if you think that's important in the game, but you've covered that at the same time. It's definitely something that obviously I know is someone that's played you and stuff, that it's definitely something that you pride yourself on, and I think you're a brilliant role model for anyone in that respect. So not quite the last question. This is the last of the kind of deep, meaningful, probing questions.
Yeah.
And before we have a bit of a laugh at the end. So last, but probably the most important question, I would say, we're both big Man United fans.
Yeah.
I was just wondering what your thoughts are on the team at the moment. If you think Ollie's doing a good job, and how do you see things going next year? I know this is going off the beaten track, but it's a very important thing for us to be discussing.
Yeah, definitely. I think he's doing a great job. When he came in, the squad was kind of on its knees, really, and he's brought them all back to playing the way United should. Before lockdown, we obviously beat City, and that was great, and it would have been a great platform to build on from then to try and secure the top 4 spot. But obviously with lockdown, it's actually maybe given the likes of Rashford, Pogba a chance to get over their injuries. And I think the key is finding out what Pogba actually wants to do. Does he want to stay and fight for the cause? If he doesn't, then I would just move him on, because you don't really want guys like that around. I think he's too much of a distraction, really, when his head's not in it. So I think getting him back motivated and fit along with Fernandez would be great. And I think in the summer, or well, the transfer market, whenever that might open, just get a striker in, a more consistent striker, I think, and we'll be doing all right. We won't be far away.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the Pogba thing's a bit, I could take him or leave him in the current, the way he is currently and the way he has been. But then if we're in a situation where they're maybe a bit better and he's more interested in it, then I can see him being an asset. But if he doesn't get to that point pretty quickly, I would sack him off. And I agree with you with Fernandez. I think he'll be the best player in the league next year. I've seen him a few times and he just looks like a class above everything not everything that's going around, certainly everything that's at United at the moment. So fingers crossed.
He's definitely got something about him. Fingers
crossed for better things to come, Roar.
Definitely.
So thanks very much for all of that. Really appreciate it.
No bother.
We're not quite finished yet, so I'm going to give you just a couple of quick fire questions of along the lines of the old teammates thing that they do in Soccer AM. So,
right.
I'm going to ask you just a question, and I just want you to tell me who fits the bill out of your teammates, kind of like past or present, I suppose.
Okay.
In any of these particular attributes. So, to start off, who would you say is the best dancer?
Best dancer. I'll go with Ziggy for that one.
I was going to say that one as well if that was me, and I'm glad you said that. So on the flip side of that, who do you think's the worst dancer?
I think I'll have to take the crown for that one.
You're going to take that one yourself?
Aye, yeah.
Most skillful?
Craig Ritchie.
Least skillful?
Don't know, that's a tough one. We've got some pretty skillful players. I don't know. It's a tough one.
I knew you wouldn't be willing to say that about anybody.
Nah.
I knew it. I'll let you off of that one then. I already had that in my head that you would skip that one. Worst taste in music?
Glenn Mack.
He's going to be happy about that.
No, I'll wait for my phone to ring, but I think we know by now whenever he asks for £1 for the jukebox, not to give it to him.
Aye, once this goes out and whatever day it goes out, your phone will be going off the hook for him. Most intelligent?
Mikey Rass. Yeah, aye.
So most likely to go into management?
Probably Mikey Rass.
Best dressed?
Drew.
Worst dressed?
Don't know, Ziggy. When he had his top knot, he had some pretty funky shirts, so I think I'll give that to him.
And the hardest?
Glenn Mack.
Who thinks they're the hardest?
Steve.
Fastest?
I'll be probably a two-way tie, Tosh and Drew. And we Daz as well, actually. Three-way tie with them.
Aye, all pretty rapid. And finally, just the one to watch. So just if there's any sort of young up and coming whippersnappers at the club that you think have got a lot of potential to be one for people to watch out for coming through the next year or two?
Probably Declan in the second team, Declan Brannan. I think he's only 16 or 17 maybe now, but he's a big boy for his age and he's doing all the right things at training. So I think he's actually played a couple of games for the first team already as well. So yeah, if he keeps going the way he is, he won't be far away.
Brilliant. So thanks very much. That's all the questions I've got. Hopefully you didn't get into too much trouble with that. I don't know if anyone will be too offended apart from maybe just one person.
Nah, hopefully I should be all right.
So, yeah, thanks for chatting to me tonight. It's been really good. Hopefully it gives people a bit of an insight into more what makes you tick and who you are as a person, rather than just watching you scalping everybody on a Saturday. And yeah, genuinely, thanks for doing that. And
No bother. Enjoyed it.
I hope that we all get back to playing a little bit or training a little bit at least soon.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Now you got back to a wee bit of normality with your work and stuff. Hope things just start to get back to a bit of normality. We'll still be doing the Friday night quizzes, though, I'm sure.
Oh, I think so. Yeah, we have to keep that going.
All right, Rory. Thanks very much. Cheers.
No bother. Cheers.